Hello, in this video we're going to get into the commands of GeoGebra, which are it can be complicated because it's sort of like a new language, but it's with all these commands that you can really make dynamic applets. You can make things appear when you wouldn't necessarily think that they would appear, and you can have things moving around to different places. So it really is worth it in terms of creating things that that can be captivating to your students. So let's get started. The first thing I just want to do is just show you really a simple list that I feel like is going to be useful for you. These are all basic commands that I want you to get comfortable with over the course of this course. In the way of trying to make this easy for you, I'm going to at first have you, and I'll put this on the Teachable site. I'm going to first have you do this game right here, which it's a very simple game where you just have certain commands that you would input into certain places, and then you just got to match it up with whatever with the sort of the definition or whatever it involves. So it just looks like this. And then you get the right. So the definitions are all pretty straightforward, and you can tell when it's 8585. So I'm not trying to trick anybody with this. I just really want you to get comfortable with it. So do this maybe about 20 times just to get comfortable with these here commands. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want to do. Later on, I'm going to give you things like these over here and have you enter them. But it's really for right now, it's just important for you to get comfortable with all this. So there's one out of all the say all the tools that we've gone over. There's one glaring one that I haven't touched on just yet, and that's called the button. The button really only function, as far as I can tell, is to just click on it. Now you could click on really anything. I mean, you could click on any point and have in that act of clicking on a point could serve the same function as clicking on a button, except the only difference is people don't think that you're going to need to click on a point to have something happen, whereas if someone sees a button, they say, let's click on the button, see what happens. So so let me show you what I mean by that. If you look at a button, I'm going to click on the object properties for it. So as you can see, the button is now selected. Let me just move it over here. So the button is now selected, and the most important part of this button is right here where you go to scripting, and it says on click or on update. The area that's sort of most critical for this is on click, and what that means is that any of those commands that I just showed you in the Word document, if you put them in here, when you click this, those instructions will be activated, and every time you click it will be activated. So it'll sort of go through one at a time, and it is in sequence. Like if you have one instruction and then another instruction, and you do need to keep that in mind when you're ordering instructions. So that is there for you for buttons. Now, like I said just a second ago, if we select, let's say, a point, and I selected H, that same on-click opportunity is here for this point, and really for every physical object that there is. You can click on it, and then when you click on it, the set of instructions can go in here. Okay, so before we jump into exactly what I want to show you for this, I do want to also though show you something else, and that is in the last section we talked about multiple conditions to show objects, and if you notice, keep an eye on this segment right here and this segment right here. If I move this all the way over, both those segments disappear. Likewise, if I move this all the way over here, both of these segments disappear. So let me bring it over, and you see they disappear. Now, if I move this right here to a different, like to 1 or to 3 or 4, you can see the whole thing is gone. What that means is that when that these segments, like if I select this one and let me select, let's see if I can select both. So I've selected both of them. If I go into object properties, you'll notice there's multiple conditions to show object for both these. So we say this will show, those two segments will show up when a equals 2 and e does not equal h. So as soon as I move that e away from h, that's when those two segments show up. Okay, so likewise, you can almost imagine what it should be if I move this over to here. Now I move this over there. That means that the conditions show object for, let's say, this and this, both those segments. It turns out to be a equals 2 and e does not equal I. So as long as e is not yet in the place where I is, that means that they will show up. Otherwise, they won't show up. So again, you get over here and then they don't show up. So that's sort of just another example of when you have multiple conditions show object in this condition show object box for whatever you're trying to have. Remember, those instructions go in the object properties condition show object box for the thing that you want to either show or not show. Okay, so let's get back into this again, and we're talking about having things show up when you click on something, but there's also this other thing called on update. Now, if you can do something on update and you don't have to have someone click something, you might as well. And I've made this applet with the idea of, let's pretend you're making some interactive, an interactive set of problems, maybe just 4 problems. We don't know what exactly is going to be on one, but maybe this is one, this is another one, this is a third one, and this is a fourth one, right? As long as you're going to be moving this lever a equals 2, and you want things to be different on each of the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, you might as well fill in those values or the instructions into that area. So if you look, if I click on A and I go to on update, you notice they don't have on click for this. They don't have that opportunity because really the point of the lever or this slider is just for you to slide it. It's not for you to click on it. So they just have the opportunity for on update. So I want to just show you how all of these works, all the instructions here work. This first one says if a equals 3, and that's how we write equals with the 2 equal sign. Show grid true, comma, show grid false. What that means is that if this condition is met, a equals 3, then we're going to show grid to be true. The grid is going to be true. However, if that's not true, if a does not equal 3, then we're going to have it false. So really, there's only one condition under which the grid will be shown, and that's when a is 3. Otherwise, in 1, 2, and 4, it won't show. Let's just check to see that is the correct. So we'll look for the grid, and you can notice the grid, this right here, shows up only on 3 and not on any of the other ones. So let's get back to that for the next one. I'm going to click on here. Let's look at this one. This says if a is greater than 2, the axis should be shown. Otherwise, the axis should not be shown. So a is greater than 2, that means for 3 and 4, it should be shown, the axis. But for 1 and 2, it should not be, because both of those aren't greater than 2. So let's see if I can move this. Yeah, I can move it. So the axis is shown there and there, but not there or there. So that checks off. The next one says set value e to h, and what that means is that sometimes you might want to reset a diagram so that when people go back to it, they can the diagram resets. So if I'm moving this around, I'm on 2, and then I go back to 1. Well, when I go back to 2, maybe I want it to reset as a rectangle. So that's just a simple instruction, just resetting the location of E to the location of H. You also could have put an ordered pair here, whatever you want to do, but that's the location, or that's the thing that we're locating, and that's the location that we're setting it to. The next one is a little complicated. I said set value of I. If a equals 4, then we want it to be 10. We want I to be 10. If a is not 4, we want I to be 1. Now, if you look at a equals 4, let's check out a equals 4. Go to 4, and you notice the only real difference between 4 and 3 is that the parameters of my graphics view have been changed. You know, I have the x min and the x max are much different, and the y max and the y min are much different as well. Well, because we're talking about the parameters of the grid, let's take a look in to see where that is, which is, we go here and we go here. You'll notice I multiplied a number I times B, C, D, and E. And then if we go back to what I wrote there, I was made to either be 10 if A was 4, or I was made to be 1 if it wasn't 4, meaning 3, 2, or 1. So if I was 1, that means when we multiplied B times 1, it just stayed as B. Same with D, E, and C. So it was a simple way for me to put this in here, where if I wanted to say, okay, instead of having it be, let's say, 6, -6 for B, it changed to -60 because I multiplied this by 10 when A was 4. Same with C, just times 10, times 10, and times 10. So that was a really simple way to sort of manipulate the graphics view in a way that is controlled. So those are simple instructions. And again, I could have put all these in on click and then just gone there to click. I could have done that if I wanted to, but I decided not to. I guess moving or from here, I'm going to post this actual applet into Teachable, the Teachable platform, and I'm going to give instructions for you to try to make it so when you go from when you enter this A equals 2, that this point begins moving from here to here. So that's sort of my challenge that I'm going to give to you. So all you'll do is you'll just go into here and put a simple instruction, add a simple instruction, and see if when you do that, this changes. So that's the challenge of today's lesson. Also, make sure that you do that simple game where you have to match the commands with the descriptions of